Happy Monday, friends. In our last episode, we talked about listening to our discontent, letting our discontent be a signal that something really is off. And as we start to listen to that voice more often, as we start to get curious about that, one thing that can happen is we start to go, wow, something is off. This doesn't work for me. The way that things are, I'm ready to change. And the energy that we're in right now is so good for that change because we're in Aries season. Aries is the beginning of the zodiac, a new cycle. It's a fresh start, it's an initiating, leadership oriented energy. And as we think about what that means for our lives, one of the things that I think of is that often women who have strong Aries energy in their chart feel like there's something wrong with them because they are quick action takers, because they know what they want. They're very decisive and they're like, let's go, let's get it, make it happen. That's not always the case, but that is something that I hear come up often because we are given this idea that feminine has to be slow, that feminine has to be gentle, that it has to be emotional and intuitive. And that is feminine energy. Aries is stereotypically male energy. However, we all have a diversity of energies within us. And as we are starting to listen to ourselves, we start to go, okay, what next? Because you're going to start to see that there are specific areas you want to change. And sometimes you can just go change those. Sometimes you can make the needed changes on your own. Sometimes they impact others. And that is typically when we go, oh, I can't do that. Oh, that's not going to work. Oh, I'm going to upset this person or make waves in this area, right? Those are things that we generally tend to do as women. This is energy in this season that is more direct, it's more decisive, it's less willing to tolerate things that just don't feel right anymore. And I want you to trust that shift. I want you to trust yourself when you are feeling more like, no, this just isn't working for me. This is just an easy example that I can come up with. Over the weekend, I have not had any alone time, which I need desperately. I've been doing a lot with my kids, so I enjoy being with them. And there's, I get overstimulated and overwhelmed really easily. And so I started to notice last night, this is not working for me. I have got to have some time to myself and I need to just like take a step back and allow that. And then I started to feel guilty, right? Because shouldn't I want to spend time with my kids? Shouldn't I want to make them happy? Yeah, of course. Of course, I want to spend time with them. Of course, I want to make them happy. But I can promise you, they're not happy if I'm overwhelmed and overstimulated and cranky. And so I told everybody this morning, hey, this is my morning. I'm going to be on my own. Y'all are on your own. This is a chill, quietly sleep in, read your book, do what you want that does not involve me and does not involve being in my space. My kids are old enough they can handle that, right? They're not two. This is different. That was hard to do, and honestly, I had to do a little bit of tapping through it. I had to do a little bit of journaling because I was still feeling that guilt of, "Who am I to want time by myself when my kids are here?" I only have them half the time. They're with their dad the other half. However, I know that I don't do well when I haven't had solo time, when I haven't had quiet time, and so saying what I wanted, being super direct. Here's what I want, and then holding to it. I locked my door, and one of them was trying to come in to let the dog in. And I said, no, I've already said, if that door is closed, mom's on do not disturb. And I had to hold that boundary, and I had to be okay with it. This looks a little bit different at work, right? This looks a little bit, um, the dynamics between us and our kids are naturally different than the dynamics between us and our coworkers. But it's a very similar concept of we have to know what we want. And listening to our discontent is one of the ways that we know what we don't want. And then with this current energy going, okay, but what do I want? What is this new cycle? What is something that would give me a refresh? What is something that would allow me a fresh start? And then actually vocalizing that, which can be really hard for a lot of us. So I want you to be thinking about some questions this week. I want you to be thinking about what is it that you're feeling? Name any of those uncomfortable feelings that you have, just name them. I feel discontent. I feel frustrated. I feel overwhelmed. I feel angry. I feel grief. I feel overstimulated. I feel like I haven't had a morning by myself with a cup of coffee and my journal in far too long. Or I haven't been outside in too long. I haven't paid attention to my body. I don't know what that is for you, but what are you feeling? Just name that. Not what do you want to feel, not any of those things. Just let your feelings be what they are. Name them. Then, when you've named them, I want you to recognize it. Go, okay, frustration. Okay, overstimulation. Hey, I see you. You're allowed to be here. This is something that we do not do often enough as women. We do not give our feelings permission to be. And then ask the question, what would you like? What would you like? And when you hear that, I want alone time. I want to make more money. I want to eat better. I want a change with my partner or whatever that situation is. I would like to feel more respected by my coworkers or by my manager or by the person who I report to. Whatever that is. I want you to allow that also, because that is the other thing that we do is we hear what we want and then we say, well, we can't have that because I just want you to hear it. Okay, hey, you want to feel respected. You want to feel less micromanaged. You want to feel whatever. And then now you've taken this incredible step of allowing that feeling, because you're whatever feeling, uncomfortable feeling you have, there's usually something behind it, something deeper. That something deeper is telling you, hey, this is what I actually want. Now, you don't get to control kids, coworkers, partners, anybody but yourself. So, can you force your manager to be less micromanaging? No, you can't. However, you can have a conversation with them and say something along the lines of, hey, I'm working on this. What information feels like it's really important for you to have, and what information is not important for you? That way I can share the right information with you. Because I'd really like to hone in and focus for a while and make sure that my energy is there and that you are getting the information that you want. This is a way that we can root our needs, right? I need to focus in with theirs. You have information that you want. Okay, when would you like? Ask them that, because then that's also telling them you care about what they need, right? Micromanaging bosses, managers, people that we report to are typically trying to fill their own need. They're trying to make sure that they're in control, that they, if somebody comes to them and asks for an update, that they have it. There's some need that they are filling. And so when you ask that question, what kind of information do you need? When do you need it? I want to make sure that I'm proactively getting that to you so that I can also focus over here. It signals to them that they are important, that their needs are important, but also you've got it, right? You are capable. You've got this. I gave you the example with my kids. If there's something that you need with your partner, same thing. Hey, ideally, this is what I would like from the day. This is what I would like from the evening, from the weekend, from, whatever it is that you're thinking about. Let them in on that. Tell them what it is that is in your ideal. Does this work for you? Those are ways that you can still embrace if you are uncomfortable with this, just like, hey, I need some alone time, so this is what I'm going to go do. If you're comfortable with that energy, go for it. Give yourself the permission to do that. If you're not comfortable with that, these are ways that you can say, hey, I need some alone time. Ideally, I would like to spend the next 3 hours by myself, drinking coffee, journaling, going for a walk, listening to my music, sleeping, cleaning the house, whatever it is that you want to do. Those are things that I want when I'm by myself. Yours are going to be different. Does that work for you? How can we make that happen? You're bringing them in as your partner. And okay, those are very collaborative and intuitive ways to lead. I think many of us, I should say, crave collaborative, intuitive leadership. And there are times when immediate action oriented energy shows up and it can feel unfamiliar, it can feel uncomfortable if we're not used to that kind of energy. Or if, especially those who were born with like really strong Aries or really strong fire energy in their chart, it can show up feeling like, oh, there's something wrong with me, right? I know what I want. I'm going to say it. I'm bold. I have no problem telling people what I want, but other people aren't comfortable with that. That feels like there's something wrong with me, that I'm always making other people uncomfortable. The reality is, not everyone is ready for quick, decisive action taking energy from anyone, male or female. Right? Many people need time to go, I got to think through this. I got to process through this. Yeah, you may know what you want, but that doesn't mean that I know what I want or that I am ready to integrate your decision immediately. And so that's where knowing that, hey, being a quick action taker, there's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of places where that is needed. And I hope that you are finding places where you can lead in that way. And if you are leading other people at work, at home, wherever, you also have to make space for them, right? So understanding what you need to be able to take quick action. They are going to need time to process and or integrate. Finding ways to do that is going to make you a much more relevant and capable leader. Lead yourself in the way that works best. If your leading of yourself is quick action taking, do it and don't feel bad about it. And you can still make your decisions and then use those little one-liners of like, hey, does this work for you? Can we get there? Is this something that we can make happen? Those are all bridges that allow you to go, this is my decision. This is what I want. I already know it. I don't need to apologize for it. And you're bridging to the other person. I think that's a piece that can get missed in this. This is a season of take action. All of our planets are direct as of the time that I'm recording this, as of the time that this is going to be released. The energy around us is saying, make quick decisions, take action. You know what? Let your intuition guide that. I don't think that Aries is void of intuition, right? It's a fire energy. And a lot of times we talk about water energies being intuitive, emotional, um, really, tapped into our inner knowing. Aries, I think, is also very, very intuitive in a different way. That quick decision making, I believe, is based in intuition. I believe it's based in our ability to tap into our decision making centers, which are in our body, not our head. One of my prior episodes, we talked about the head and the ajna centers. The head is where we ask questions. That is our energy center where questions are formulated. Our ajna center below that, which a lot of times people kind of correlate with like the third eye center, that is where we formulate theories, where we formulate ideas. But neither of those are decision making centers. All of our decision making energy centers live within our body. Often, when we tap into our intuition, our brain then kicks in with questions and ideas, and we allow those to be decision makers. Aries energy, because of its quick action, doesn't necessarily do that. It might do that afterwards. It might overthink and second guess afterwards. But that again is a non decision making energy source coming in as if it should be a decision maker. It is not. You have other decision makers in your body that when you allow yourself to tap into those, you can still make space for questions. You can still make space for theories and ideas and opinions, but your decision maker isn't there. I think we need to do an episode on decision makers as I'm saying this. I can give you an example of how this came about for me. A couple of months ago, there's a local festival here called the Goddess Festival. It's incredible. I have done it for the last several years. I love going to that as a vendor. I love going and doing chart readings. I've done card readings. I've been a speaker there. It is a really, really cool festival. Like it's one of those where I will do pretty much whatever I can to make sure that I'm there. When the date was announced for this year, I immediately knew it was a no for me. And that was a hard one because I had that knowing in my body. This is a no. My head was like, this is where I make the most local connections. This is where I have the most fun. It is such a wonderful event. How can I say no to this? I said no. I trusted that inner knowing. That was this weekend. This weekend, my fiance is out of town. My daughter has her dance recital this weekend. My mom is here. There's so many other things happening this weekend that would have been impossible to navigate had I said yes to that. Had I allowed my brain to override my decision. And that happens for us, I think, frequently where we get that yes or we get that no immediately within our body, and then we don't take action on that. We allow our brains to override it. And so I want you to be thinking about, where do you feel that yes, no in your body? It's going to be different for different ones of us. Like I said, I'm going to do an episode on this. I think it's really important. Where do you feel that yes, no in your body? And then go with it. Trust it. More often than not, our yes, no is keeping us safe. Our bodily yes, no, our bodily quick decision maker, that spark, that's Aries energy, that spark is correct. And often we don't see why until later. This has happened to me so many times. I go back to one of the first times that I was aware of this. It was another one of those where I was invited to go out to meet with a client in Kansas. I had met with them before in person. We had put on an event together in person. They had invited me out for this weekend, and I just had this intuitive no. And I went with that. I said, you know what? Unfortunately, that's not going to work for me. I definitely want to continue working with you, continue doing these events with you. However, this one's not going to work. And that was really hard because I also had those doubts of like, are they still going to want to be my client? Are they still going to want to work with me? Are they still going to trust me? Are they going to see me as being a flake because I said no? Right? These doubts that we get when we make a decision. I made that decision. I told them no. And a week later, my aunt passed away. And it turned out that the weekend that we were going to her service was like a week after I would have been in Kansas. And could I have made those things work? Maybe. But at the time, I was a super young mom. The person who was my husband was working full time. It would have been, I know at that time, really hard on my family had I been gone out of state 2 weekends in a row. My intuition, I had no clue that that was coming, but my intuition knew. My body knew that for whatever reason, that was a no, and I went with it. Sometimes those no's can be harder than the yeses for us because the yeses, we're like, yep, I know it. I'm going. I can control this. I know what to do. I can take action. The no becomes, oh, I gotta wait. I gotta trust this. There is a like quiet internal, oh crap, was that the right answer kind of a thing that happens when we say no. But with this current energy, I want you to start hearing that and trusting that. Okay, this episode took a different turn than it started with, but think that I think it makes sense. Hopefully, it makes sense for everybody. The energy that we are in right now is quick decision making energy. We are often not comfortable with that. You might be listening to this, you might be like, actually, I am. However, many of the people who I talk with are not comfortable with quick decision making energy because we have a tendency to overthink, to second guess, to try to please other people, to try to make it work for everybody before we trust our decision. This is energy of actually make a decision and trust it. You can still find ways to bridge the gap between your decision and other people and their needs and their desires. That's fine. I think that there's a lot of times when we do need to do that. And you can still make your decision, even if you don't have 100% of the how am I going to please everybody? How am I going to make it work for everybody? Whatever that is for you. Okay, friends, happy Monday. I hope you have a wonderful week and make some decisions, stick with it, and let me know how that goes.